What's up, guys? Leaf Green Goblin here. Today I'm with my friend Cole. We've had a couple of videos together on Neil's channel. Shout out Neil with Tommy. On not their channel, on Neil's channel, Athletes and Antiquities. Shouts out that channel. I'll put the link in the description. And today we're going to be talking about Sealed. Cole knows a lot more about Sealed than I do. So, Cole, how's it going? And how did you get into Sealed, I guess?
It's good, man. So my original goal with kind of when I got back into Pokemon in like 2017, 2018 was Gold Stars and EXs a little bit too, but mostly Gold Stars. So I wanted to get them all in PSA 9 or BGS or CGC 9. And I finished that goal. God, I don't know, it's been maybe over a year now, but I kind of dabbled in Sealed here and there. I actually used to do loose packs before I really knew much about Sealed.
Okay.
Here and there. I eventually sold all that off because I just wasn't super comfortable with it. And then once I completed the Gold Stars, that's when I really got into it heavy because I didn't really have a goal anymore. And I just thought it'd be cool to kind of start piling that stuff up since, it's extremely hard to find, and especially for a decent price. So that's kind of how I got started. And it was sort of like I ran out of stuff to do with my primary goal. So I was like, let me shift to something that's arguably even harder to do. So I had to challenge myself.
Okay. So you kind of started with loose packs. You started with the gold stars and you jumped
Yep.
around a little. I guess the first question it's coming on top of my head is, what was your main approach, I guess, to like nowadays? So like you started with the loose, maybe I'm guessing because it was cheaper probably than the other stuff,
Yes.
and then
Yep.
kind of how would you kind of summarize your evolution into where you are now? Because like I'm sure you have some stuff you're gonna show off.
Yes. Like if you'd like me to, I've got it
There you
sitting right here. Had
go.
it
Okay.
prepared. So yeah, packs initially because just so much more affordable. But as you kind of get down the rabbit hole, you start to understand why they're so much more affordable. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it. The problem is there's no way to ever truly know if it's been weighed or not, no matter how trustworthy your source is. You don't know if they're telling you the truth about if they weighed it or not. You don't know if the person that they may have previously got it from weighed it or not. You have no idea how many hands it's been exchanged through. So that's sort of why I decided to get away from it. I haven't actually added anything in a while. I'm getting married in like 3 weeks, so it's been uh, mad dash here lately to get that stuff figured out.
Nice.
So I've been busy. I'll show you some other cool stuff. I don't know if I've showed you and Neil and Tommy the stuff that I kind of been dabbling in as well. It's not Pokemon, but it's kind of adjacent. So been kind of just slowing things down a little bit and just appreciating what I have, which is something I've always struggled with. So been focusing on that. But I primarily now, actually not even primarily, only am in blisters, collector's boxes, and tins. You pay a pretty steep premium relative to if you just consider the packs that are in the product. If you were to buy those packs loose versus what's in the sealed item, but it's because one, they display great, they display super well. Two, it's really hard to find these things intact still, and then three, you have the guarantee of them being unsearched and unweighed and can't be resealed or anything like that. I mean, within reason, but yeah, just a lot less risk. That's why I buy graded, is because I'm just so risk averse. I used to try and buy near mint raw when I very first started, and the cards would always come up looking worse than I expected them to when I got them in the mail. And it's just a really crappy disappointment when that happens. So I was just like, I know what I'm getting when I buy a PSA 9. There might be a little ding in the corner or something that you didn't see before you bought it, but at least you know it's in a slab and your investment is safe. I don't do this as an investment, but if you're going to sink a lot of money into this stuff, it's an investment regardless of whether you want it to be or not. It just is.
I
So
agree. Thinking about the like you kind of getting burned or like kind of going more into graded cards. I remember like the big point for me was, I used to see people complaining online about TCG Player, like sending them bad cards. And I was like, what are you talking about? These EX like hollows near mint I'm getting are, they're not bad at all. And then I finally got one that was like terrible and it was a pain to get a refund. I think I only got a partial refund. And then I was like, all right, I'll just go get a PSA 8. And if it's too expensive, I'll get a PSA 7. They're all going in the binder anyway.
Exactly.
I'm still shocked at TCG's player success with like no photos.
Especially with like modern. I feel like, and this is going on a little bit of a tangent, but
Oh no worries. We have time for a couple tangents.
I feel like modern is so the margin between a raw mint. Let's just take a Moonbryon for example. The margin between a raw mint Moonbryon and like a PSA 10, there's just not much room there for profit. So if you're buying with the intent to get it and then grade it and then flip it, which I know a lot of people are, I would want to see pictures first before I would ever consider it, because there's just not much meat on the bone. So for modern, I'm particularly surprised that they do anything.
I think
they do well.
Even if you're not trying to flip, I think just the fact that there's no photos and you got collectors just buying it, I think that just shows how strong the hobby is for, people like even new collectors just going on TCG Player and just buying up stuff, like just adding 30 things to cart and buying stuff. But going back to about your sealed and like being risk averse, in your opinion, is that like the biggest difference between collecting sealed and collecting cards for someone who wanted to get into it? What would be one thing that you'd want to let someone know if they're entering into it?
So the biggest thing is, and I fell into this trap. When I very first got into sealed, I couldn't resist the temptation to open, and I opened one of my EX Value Pack. It's like the one that come with either the Flygon Pop Series promo or the Typhlosion. It's like an orange box or purple box. It's got Unseen Forces, Legend Maker, and Holland Phantoms in it.
I think I know the promo. I don't know the blister.
Yeah, you'd know it if you saw it, I bet.
Okay.
I used to have one, but I traded a Darkrai Premium box, which has Dragon's Frontiers packs in it, or it has one. Okay. And the guy that I traded it to, Mr. 1T, shout out to him. If he ever somehow sees this, he's on YouTube too, and we are buddies on Instagram. But he opened it. This was back in 2019, 2020. He opened it on YouTube. It's got tens of thousands of views, might be over 100,000 now. And he got a Gold Star Zard out of the Dragon Frontiers pack from a box that I had in my possession. Wow. And that hurt really, really bad. So I had just the most disgusting case of FOMO. I get sick to my stomach about it if I think about it for too long to this day. Because it's not even the value aspect of it. It's the fact that I could have ripped that and pulled the Gold Star Zard. Like, I really wish I could have that on my resume type thing. So I got FOMO, ripped mine. I got like an Aerodactyl Hollow from Legend Maker and really nothing else. So at the time, that box was like $600 or $700, and now it's like close to 2,000. And I got maybe $100 in cards, maybe. The overarching point is, if you're going to collect vintage sealed, even if it weighs heavy, if you decide to weigh it yourself and it weighs heavy, that's with loose packs only, obviously. Don't open it. You're going to break even probably at best. Even if you pull a Gold Star out of an EX pack, if it grades a 9, you're probably in the money. But if it grades an 8, and there's plenty of pack fresh EXR cards that are 8s out of the pack, even 7 sometimes, you're probably just breaking even. And Gold Stars are 1 in 72 to 108 packs is the kind of consensus on that. So your odds aren't very strong. Or if you pull like an Umbreon EX or a Gengar EX or a Zard EX, but there's very few exceptions outside of Gold Stars where you're going to even break even. So that's my biggest piece of advice I can give, is resist the temptation to open it, because it's literally not worth it at all. So,
and to clarify for the audience, like if you want to rip and like be gutsy, as in like, you see those videos where they go to shows and they open a heavy pack, like go for it. But if you're like buying this stuff and you're like, I'm going to display it, and I'm not investing, I just want to display it and let it sit, and then all of a sudden you start ripping into it, there's a big difference between those two things.
Yes. And it goes to and this is kind of an overarching point of all of it, is if you don't have the financial means to do this without stressing about the money going out of your bank account, don't do it. Because typically the people you see on Instagram ripping that stuff, they have some kind of a store where they are buying and selling this stuff with regularity and making good money doing it. Ripping a pack or two is not going to hurt them very bad, and a lot of time it's promo for their store. You got loose packs on Instagram. Don Diego, she does a lot of ripping. I'm probably just not thinking, there's plenty more. But, if you don't have the means to do it without taking the loss, for one, don't buy it, obviously. I mean, I could say that about anything in the hobby. But two, definitely don't rip it. Because if you ever are in a bind and you buy a $2,000 EX Collector's box or whatever, a triple blister, you were in a bind and you have, some big car thing come up or some medical emergency, you can probably recoup your money, if not make a little bit, if it's been enough time, because this stuff only appreciates, I've gathered, unfortunately. So
Unfortunately.
Yeah, because man, I don't have patience, and I just want to compile all this stuff right away and be done with it. Because if I don't, I'm gonna have to spend more money down the line.
Well, I do have a point about that later. I might bring up, but yeah, guys, make sure you guys have an emergency fund. No matter how old you guys are, have a little something just in case. Wishing you all the best. But one thing, one thing, you're saying you're amassing all this stuff, and it's got me thinking. One thing that I think is a big difference in sealed compared to cards is the storage.
Yes.
Feels like storage for sealed is a lot bigger deal. Not just like having more space per se, but just I feel like humidity or that type of stuff can matter a lot more if you want to get into that.
It definitely does. So, like for example, I'll show you. Like I have, this is just one of my single blisters. It's a Team Rockets returns, but I keep these all just wrapped in the bubble wrap, kind of just like fold over the back, and I just keep them in there. And this is how I store them. I have a couple that are in acrylics, but those are. Or what'd you say?
Can you show one of those off, please?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Cases?
So I have my Case Fresh Deoxys blister, one of those, and they're nice, but they're not cheap. I mean, these are $30 or $40 from my experience. So that's like a whole other piece of sunk cost into each item. When I have 5 of these single blisters, I mean that's another couple $100 right there, and just cases. So yes, great point about storage. It's even more money.
But hey, letting people know that there's cases for everything. I mean, I just found a couple days ago they got cases for ETBs. Did not know.
Yeah. So speaking of that, and I want to show you this. This is one of the things I've compiled since I have paused with Pokemon just for a minute, just to liven things up for myself. I may have told you guys about these. I'm not sure. I really can't remember. So I still play the Gen 3 games all the time. I play the Battle Frontier a ridiculous amount on Emerald.
Oh, I was playing that. Yeah, I was playing that not even a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Battle Factory is literally the most repeatable thing ever because it never gets old.
That's a renting one, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude, it never gets boring. I just played it last night before bed. Like it literally is so.
I play the Heart Gold Soul Silver ones too. Battle Frontier. Yeah. I mean, Emerald's the best, I think, but still, they're
because it's the OG. But yeah. But what I've been getting into, just to kind of branch out my nostalgia a little bit. So I'm sure did you have a Game Boy Advance SP growing up?
Yes.
Okay. So they did 2 models. There was the 001 version and then the 101 version. Do you know about that?
Light. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yes. So the backlit ones, I got into the rabbit hole on this. The backlit ones, they didn't even advertise these as like a different model. They just started putting them on shelves. And the screen quality difference is insane. Like it's significantly better. And they're super hard to find. Well, I managed to find, and these were expensive.
No, you do not have like that Japanese Rayquaza one.
No.
Oh.
They're sealed. These are sealed.
What is that? Is that the Pearl Blue? I think I had
Pearl Blue and the Graphite. Yep.
Ooh.
And I've got a couple loose of the Pearl Blue one, but yeah, these are. I paid over $2,000 for these, not each, but total. Yeah, they are
really.
They are hard to find, dude. And my point was though that they make acrylics even for these.
Yeah. Wow.
So you can find acrylics for everything. But yeah, you can. I don't know if you'll be able to see on the video, but you can see the seal on there, still perfectly intact.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But so I don't plan on like accumulating a bunch of these, but I was like, I think these are so cool, and I'm never gonna have another chance to probably find one of these sealed. So I wanted to get both colors. So.
And is that your chase for like in like Pokemon sealed sometimes? Like the collector's tin you have, I rarely ever. I mean, I don't go searching for them, but they don't really pop up. I don't see anybody really talking about them.
No, they're very, very rare. I see them pop up on Instagram somewhat, not regularly, but somewhat frequently. But it's usually the same few exchanging hands a lot. Like I know a couple of them were raffled off, and then that guy sold them not too long after that to somebody, and then that guy sold them again. So it's like you see them, but it's the same few exchanging hands a bunch. So, but yeah, this is a cool product. It's got a Celebi Black Star Pro. It's a Black Star promo and a Suicune Black Star promo, and then Deoxys. I think it's Deoxys, Team Rocket Returns, and Unseen Forces pack in here. So this is it's got a handle on top. It's like a little lunchbox. It's very cool.
Do you keep that one displayed? Like, do you have a little setup?
Yeah, I keep it out on my desk out here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was wondering, those blisters, like or the ones in the acrylic cases, do you have those displayed?
Yeah, so the ones in the bubble wrap I keep just in the drawer just because I don't trust as much. Bubble wrap's not gonna protect them that well. But the ones like this, I need to get an acrylic for this, the Rayquaza collector's box.
Oh yeah.
This has 2 Deoxys packs, a Team Rocket Returns pack, and then 2 Pop Series 1 packs in it. I think this is probably my most expensive. Yeah, this is my most expensive sealed item.
I thought about getting just that, looking for that one empty, just because I think
the box.
So sick.
Yeah,
it's cool. I like the CGI kind of art. What I don't know if it's fully CGI, but I just really like those type of arts. Like the Dragon Frontiers Nidoking is on something. I don't know. Dragon Frontiers Typhlosion. Those type of arts, I'm into it.
They're really cool. They've grown on me.
Like older Smash Bros characters. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, dude. Yes, like Melee.
Yeah. Those are kind of grainy, but like a little bit more, maybe like Wii times type of like, they're not as pixely, but it's still like, you can tell it's an older game. But
yeah, that was 100% our nostalgia talking to, because I bet if you asked someone who had no like feelings towards that, like they wouldn't probably feel any type of way about that kind of art, but like we grew up.
Yeah. That's definitely part of it. I think one thing, it's nice that you're showing this stuff off, because at least for me, and I'm sure if I feel this way, some other people feel this way, is that, the chase sometimes for sealed, it's like, well, it's not as much as cards, because, sealed, you got to open it to get the chase. And I feel like when people talk about sealed, it's either modern where it's abundant, or even they'll go like back in the day and they'll talk about like unlimited booster box. Oh, but there's so many. And then you kind of have like this, like people talk about Skyridge is like it's unattainable, where it's like, or it's so rare, or it's just so out of people's price range. But there is some stuff in the middle, like in the mid era. I'm sure from Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Black and White, there's some stuff out there. Like, yeah, it's expensive, but
Diamond and Pearl stuff too, dude. You can get Diamond and Pearl triple blisters and stuff for, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably not. I think I'm pretty up to date. I mean, a little under $1,000 for like a triple blister, probably between $700, $900. I mean, I'm not saying that's cheap. It's certainly not cheap, but if you were to get the same thing in EX, it'd be $2,000 and $2,500. So it's literally triple. Yeah, there's very affordable stuff.
I was just gonna say, aside from modern cards, it's not like you can say most chase cards are cheap. Like in-demand chase cards that are graded are gonna be expensive. So to say like, a Diamond and Pearl blister pack, like I'm assuming that's gonna be expensive. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like some people, they kind of go where it's like, oh, sealed's either really abundant and everyone can just get it, or it's like, oh, it's a $50,000 booster box. And I was like, no, there's some middle ground.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah,
sealed, that's kind of what.
Definitely. No, that's a good point. Yeah, it's and it's one of those things where I think a lot, and you guys have kind of made me realize too, just from some of the stuff, like Neil and Tommy, I showed them some of this stuff, and they'd never even seen some of these boxes and tins and stuff before. Like, I don't think Tommy or Neil had seen this box. I could be wrong, but
I don't remember.
But regardless, it's almost just like you have to just know it even is a thing. So, and there's literally a Wikipedia page for like EX Series TCG merchandise. It's got every single sealed product that they ever made. And I will use that as a resource of just like, okay, what do I want to try and pick off next? So that there's a lot of stuff on there that you can find. Like, it's got pictures of it. It's got everything. So,
and now do you go for the rarity nowadays, packs, or what was I going to say? Like display value. What's your hierarchy at this point? Like, what is something, again, like going back to the audience, like if somebody's new, like, what is like the selling point for you?
For me,
but
yeah, for me, it's the packs that the sealed product contains personally, because I think there's some really early EX era sealed stuff that has like Ruby and Sapphire and Sandstorm and stuff in it that is like extremely, extremely rare. And those sets don't really do much for me. So they're just not for me. I'm a gold star collector, so I want sets that have gold stars in them. That's just, that's what speaks to me. So I want stuff that's got Deoxys. I want stuff that has Team Rocket Returns. I want Holland Phantoms. I want Delta Species,
So not necessarily rare packs, just like give me the packs with the cards that I like, with the hits and stuff that I like.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. That. Besides blister packs and you got the collection tins, is there anything else that you're really into? Like, you got any other niche like sealed stuff?
No, that's pretty much it. Besides the Game Boys.
Is there anything else? Is there anything else that? What's a better way to frame this? I guess in the like the mid era or vintage era, because I know there's theme decks. I have thought about picking up theme decks before for display purposes, but what are some other things like besides the booster box? Because like I feel like in the modern day you have ETBs. If you're not getting booster box, it's ETB, and it's like I guess there's blisters, but there's like 2 or 3 things. Is there anything that's like Pokemon's not really making anymore in sealed nowadays?
Some of the carry tins and stuff that you see, they don't really make a lot of those anymore. I mean, I know I've seen like the pencil cases and stuff from a couple years ago. I don't think they do much of those anymore. I could be wrong, but those kinds of things. No, I think honestly they've really just taken everything they've done historically and kind of just expanded on it. I mean, because EX, I mean, I can speak on EX, I know it for a fact. You got single blisters, double blisters, which I have one of, triple blisters, collector's boxes, and then there's some really like bigger collector's boxes, which are super hard to find. And then you got like the value packs and then the tins, and that's really it outside of the booster boxes. So I think they're doing more now probably than they ever have in terms of the variety of sealed product. But yeah, so there's not a ton of, it's kind of nice, but there's not a ton of diversity in the way they package it, like the form factor. There's just a few to pick from, and it's kind of nice because it's not too overwhelming. So
okay, interesting take. I was curious for the newer stuff. Do you like any of the newer stuff? Anything appeal to you?
I do. Yeah, I feel like sometimes they like I really do like the Charizard UPC.
I like white boxes.
Yeah, dude, they look clean. They look super clean. I think that's a good product though. I mean, they loaded that thing up, and I think I'm kind of surprised. I'm so out of tune with Modern right now. I'm surprised that thing doesn't go for more with the packs that are in it. Like, I mean, you got so much Sword and Shield.
Yeah, because I heard that there's so much of it. So
yeah,
I think it's only a matter of time. But yeah, it has. I think what were you saying? Were you about to say that it has Evolving Skies packs?
Yeah, it's got Evolving Skies, Lost Origin. So I mean, it's got all the really good Sword and Shield sets. I feel like those are a really solid buy. I think all sealed, honestly, is a good buy if you're trying to appreciate your money. So I was actually literally just thinking I had to go to the vet after work before this to pick up some meds for my dog, and I was thinking about like what I wanted to talk about during this, and I was thinking about how I might start doing a binder for each EX set, and because it's something I can do super slow and not stress about.
Yeah.
But then I'm sitting to myself thinking, okay, I've looked at all my cards at the end of each year since I started collecting. And at the end of each fiscal year, they have gone up in value. It never fails. It's not, I mean, the amount can differ, but they always increase in value. I have a hard time being patient with things when I know that I'm kind of like on the clock or on a timer to get it at a good buy. I feel like right now you can get a lot of EX holos and stuff and even EX cards for a really good price. I feel like they're undervalued right now. But in general, the stuff just keeps going up, and it's like I feel like I don't have the ability to just sit still and do things slowly. I'm going to end up buying it way too fast, and I completed my gold stars several years faster than I thought I would, and I kind of regret it. But at the same time, I don't, because I've looked at the prices of some of them and they keep going up.
What are your tips for like a new person getting into sealed, and like, because that seems like it's a common problem. Like people just want to buy it all up. They're worried, as soon as they hear like, oh, I think this is the last reprint, I'm going to go gobble all this stuff up. What do you do to negate that? It sounds like you're kind of struggling.
I don't. I would say seek therapy. But no, I think it literally is just a mindset thing. Like dude, I'm telling you, this turned more for a while there. It turned from a hobby to me to like literally a source of stress / felt like it was work. And I think that's because of my kind of very type A personality. Like I just was so anal with wanting to check things off the list and get it before it went up in price and stuff. But like, I don't know, you got your entire life to do this or until you get sick of it. If something goes from, if you want to Alakazam Gold Star, for example, in a PSA 9, if it goes from $800 to $1,000 over the course of a year when you first started looking at it before you could get it, what's $200? I mean, you're already spending several hundred. What's another couple $100 for you to check something off the list? And you know what? Just keep your money in the stock market while you're waiting, and then it'll just offset any gains that the card market had, and you're totally fine. So that's not real advice. This is not financial advice, but
this is why I made this channel. You don't want to get, sometimes the hobby, you get too wrapped up to it, and boom, all of a sudden it's stressful. When people say, don't get too stressed out in this stuff, like don't get too deep in it. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you get stressed out, you're going to go bankrupt. It's just like within your means, like even within the budget, you allocate for collecting or for your hobbies, how do you maximize that? That's kind of where I trying to get with this channel, bringing some guests on, because I could see somebody getting into sealed. They're buying some booster boxes here and there. They're pretty cheap. And they're like, oh, I can afford to buy, a collector's tent. And then next thing you know, they're like, whoa, these things aren't popping up a lot. And then bang, 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 bang. They're just, buying all this stuff up, and kind of just learn about it first. Definitely. That's why we got Cole on here. Gives you guys some knowledge, and then kind of get into it as you do, kind of slowly.
I genuinely do think one piece of advice I can give, and this actually could be true for your life in general. I'm super involved on Instagram. Like put my display name for this as my Instagram handle if anyone wants to go follow me.
Yeah, plug yourself. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, I was gonna good call.
I post a lot. It's really just I haven't actually made a post in a while, but I'm pretty active on my stories and stuff, and I'm always down to chat on there. But it's very EX centric, and I think I fall into the trap a lot of it's hard to say this without sounding cocky or arrogant, but I objectively have a pretty damn cool EX sealed collection. Like I've got some sweet stuff that a lot of people will be very, very happy to have. But dude, if you follow the wrong accounts, you're going to sit there and feel like a piece of garbage, because I saw a guy not long ago had there's triple blisters from Team Rocket Returns that have 2 Team Rocket Returns in a Deoxys pack. And he had just literally a pile of them sitting there, like so many. That's where a lot of the stock of this stuff is, by the way. There's more of it than you'd think, but it is in very few hands. That is a point I should have made earlier. There's more of it than you would think, but there may as well not be, because the people who hold it are not letting it go.
In reference to like the older stuff.
Yes, strictly EX. And then I don't know how true that is for other stuff. I can just speak to EX because I see it. Or I follow a guy on Instagram, Harry Zontal, HARRYZONTAL. This dude's stuff he just posted a picture today of some of his EX Power Keepers boxes. He had posted a picture of 4 of them. I mean, the dude's got several of each EX booster box and E-Series. Like you just have to pat people on the back who managed to get in and spend a lot of money before things really took off, and just it is what it is,
I mean, hey, back in the day, they used to say, don't keep up with the Joneses. Yep. Well, now, instead of having one Joneses in your neighborhood, you got them all on your phone. At just a click of a button, you Bingo. Can see someone who's quote unquote doing better at life than you, it looks better than you, has a better collection than you. So, like, I think social media for entertainment, sure, and for so doing some research, learning more about your hobby, but don't get because I feel this kind of way too when it comes to Instagram, especially Instagram. You just I followed 1 or 2 guys, 3 people. Next thing you know, I'm getting like flooded with other collectors like recommending me to follow them, and it's just crazy collections. And I'm like, well, my collection isn't, it's not the biggest, but it's not small.
Yeah. No. There's always going to be a bigger dog out there. Like, do you know? Have you seen Yummy Cards on Instagram at all? You seen him?
I don't think so.
He does lives. He did lives several months ago, a few nights in a row of just burning through Pop Series 5 packs, trying to pull. As far as I know, yeah. So as far as I know, and I could be wrong on this. I doubt he sees this video, but for anyone who does know, he's got a lot of money. I think he's like sold a tech company or something, or maybe it was crypto related something. But he has just seems like infinite money. But on this live, dude, he opened, I think it was over 100 Pop Series 5 packs. And he eventually did pull both Umbreon and Espeon Gold Star, but like he didn't even make his money back, even if they grade 10s probably, because he opened so many packs. But that's what I'm saying. Like I sat there for the first couple minutes that I'm like, wow, I'm like literally such a, like not even a player in this whole thing, but it's like, who cares? Why does that matter? Like, you know what I mean?
No, I know. I mean, that kind of just goes back to your, like, at best you're going to break even. I mean, this guy gets the 2 biggest hits and like these expensive. Well, I mean, how many cards are in the pack?
It's 2 cards in the pack, but the only ones really worth anything are the Umbreon and the Espeon Gold. So
yeah, so everything else is I mean, so you opened 200 cards, got 2 of them total, and still didn't really break even. That's kind of the story of some sealed. I kind of wanted to shift to some like design stuff. Kind of the modern stuff. I kind of had a take here. Wanted to get your thoughts. I think that with booster boxes, not kind of the design, I feel like hasn't been what it used to be.
Yep.
I feel like that's kind of given value, not necessarily value in investing or just like appreciating in value, just in general, just as like the value of just people picking it up. ETBs. I think ETBs, I'm seeing people like starting to display them. I have some I sometimes display. And I really do think it's because booster boxes just don't look as nice as some of the older booster boxes to look.
Dude,
and
they don't.
It kind of does show that when people, sometimes sealed collectors get this stigma that you guys are just collecting for, just to hold this stuff. And, you're trying to keep the chases away from the other people. But really, I think ETBs are I don't think people are buying that stuff for just the promo. I think they're buying it for the display. And I don't have any thoughts on that.
Well, also it's also, this stuff isn't like the sealed stuff is not, it's like you said, it's very displayable. And it's a collector's item in and of itself, just existing on its own. Like, even though there's collectible things inside the packaging, doesn't mean that the thing itself isn't. Because I think it's really cool to have something that's intact the way it sat on the Target shelves 18, 19 years ago. I find that really cool because that really brings me back, because I never pulled a Gold Star as a kid. My buddy had one, and we both thought it was the coolest thing ever. We didn't really know what the significance of it was or anything. But like, what really is nostalgic for me is the blisters and stuff intact as they are, because like I can look at that and be transported back to being 7, 8 years old.
I once saw a video of a guy who basically had his closet set up like a Target rack or like a GameStop rack. And honestly, I started feeling the nostalgia. I was like, okay, I see where people are coming from. Even though, I mean, that was like thousands of dollars of stuff he had on there, but still, I see where they're,
That's a lot of it for me, and I should have maybe mentioned that earlier when it comes to like my priority of why I want it. But that's a big part of it is like, it's not just the value. Like, the value's cool, but there's something to be said for being able to see something like, oh, this is literally what this was looking like sitting on the shelf back in 2005 or 2006. Like, it's like a relic. You know what I mean? I find that aspect of it really cool, and I think it's a very good point about how modern booster boxes just really aren't very appealing to the eye. I mean, have you seen like a Crystal Guardians booster box?
Yes.
One of the prettiest booster boxes that's ever been made, I think. I mean, compare that to like I don't know, like even like a Scarlet and Violet booster box, really take your pick because they all look basically the same. Like,
have you seen some old Japanese sealed even?
Dude,
some of that stuff's very nice.
It's cool. They put a lot more thought into it back then. I've noticed there's a lot of unused space on the cardboard now. They used to use every square inch of the box or anything to really display and like make it look visually aesthetic and appealing. I mean, there's just a lot of white space with like the set logo and name on the boxes now, and it's I'm sure Pokemon doesn't care because the intent for them is for it to be open, so why does it matter? But that's definitely a real thing.
It just doesn't make sense because you see on the booster packs, they still put in the art. Japanese booster packs, it's still, I'm pretty sure it's one art for all the packs.
Yep.
For US, you have 4 pack arts. Why not make it something crazy? I feel like it's not more work. They got to hire a new artist to make an art just for the booster box. That's a little confusing. Even the ETBs, they could go a little harder on those.
They could. I agree.
Sometimes, like, I buy a box. Like, I think I bought one. I think Paradox Rift because I really like that ancient Salamence. I forgot his name.
Is it Roaring Moon? Yeah.
Yeah, so I have that just because I want a Salamence. Honestly, I bought the 151 because it has Snorlax. Mm-hmm. It's not, the design isn't insane, but people want boxes of stuff with Pokemon on them. Like, give us that. I don't know, the booster boxes. Like, I bought a Brilliant Stars one, and like it came in like this. I was like, this isn't that hype.
And I think it's cool to have both the product, like the sealed product, and the card. That, like, that's why, again, I kind of collect the sets that have Gold Stars, because we're like, oh, you see this Rayquaza? Like, that came in this, or you could have got that out of these packs. Like, it feels like almost kind of like when you like 100% a video game. Like, it just feels more complete.
Ooh, okay.
Type thing.
Interesting analogy, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I think of it.
Timeline. You got like here's the card. Here's like the best graded version. Here's the here's the sealed. I've kind of grown into understanding like some of those people who have like the binders where it's like, I see them, I'm like, why do you need the non-hollow version, the cracked ice version, the hollow version? But now, like, when you're saying it like this, like, that's something I can think about. It's like, like just having it all, just the whole package in one. that's kind of cool. Yeah.
It's more of a thorough archive, I guess, and that's kind of I had the realization recently is kind of why I think I do this is it's almost like an archive of my childhood type thing. Like especially when I started getting the Game Boys and like I got like Emerald and Fire Red complete in box not too long ago just to kind of go with the theme. But that's kind of, it's like more of a thorough. Okay,
how dare you, Fire Red? How dare you?
I love it, dude. That's
the only reason why I got into Pokemon is because video game wise was I wanted Emerald. It was like $30. My mom was like, "No, we're not getting that." Walk by the clearance section, I see Leaf Green in there for 15. I was like, "Mom, come on." He's like, "Oh, there we go."
That's your namesake, dude.
There we go. Yeah. So
that's awesome. Yeah. No, so for me, it's just more of a thorough, complete archive of like my childhood because it's kind of why I do it. Is like, so I'm still friends with the people who bought my parents' childhood house, and I go over there, and it's just like super comforting for me to just be in that house still because I don't even know how I would describe this. I mean, feel free to cut this out if you don't want this in your video, but I almost feel like I have some form of like autism or something sometimes because I'm like so strongly like anything that has to do with my childhood, I'm just very with it. Like I have no new gaming systems. I only play my GameCube and N64 and my GBA. That's all I'll play. Just whatever's from my childhood, I really gravitate towards it.
Oh, so, no. I mean, dude, you should be lucky that you get to see your childhood house. That's going to be pretty surreal to go back.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's very lucky. Most people don't get that.
Yeah. No, I think when you're saying about kind of like as a relic, and I think definitely there are some people right now who are collecting modern sealed because they want to look back on it later on. And I think that's definitely an appeal because definitely for me, like in cards, I collect cards. You know, I'm willing to shell out a lot of money on some cards just because I'm like, I don't care. This is like, you know, I like the video games way more than the cards. But when it comes to the cards, these are like the peak. Like you can take away everything else I have like in my like collecting space. These are the top cards. But then I have some modern cards where I'm like, well, I want to remember when I was ripping packs in college. Like I still want to remember that. Like it's not as strong of a feeling of me as maybe when I was like 9 or 10 on the playground. Right. Still, like you definitely want to document it. So I think it's interesting with sealed. Like some people want to just buy it and throw it on a shelf and they don't care what happens to it. And then other people, you know, put it in acrylic cases and, make sure they're intact because that is in a way, you know, even though it's materialistic, pop culture is a part of us, whether we want to admit it or not.
It very much is.
100%. But I'm just saying, there's some people who hate on materialism as if it's not a part of your life. Like,
it is for everybody. Like, no matter.
As if you grew up and you were like, no, I run a minimalistic lifestyle. Yeah. I don't do toy cars.
Exactly. No, it's true. Yeah, it's built into every single person because, like, as a kid, everybody as a kid is that way. So whether you become that way as an adult or not, you were that way at one point in your life. So it's tough because it really is a lot of money. But like, I will try and get myself to sell stuff sometimes, and I just cannot bring myself to do it. I just can't. It's impossible for me to.
Yeah, I think we can have a whole topic on just that, like letting go of some stuff. I mean, I think that's what I'm going to be the next time when I do the video with Tommy. He seems to be struggling with it. I feel like every time he hits up the group chat, he's like, dude, I rated this in a 10, but I don't know. I don't know if I should let it go. I was like, all right, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to transition to this one topic, and that is the CT scanning. I got to get your opinion on that. I don't know too much about it. If you guys don't know, the audience don't know, please fill them in because I don't want to diss the audience, but I know some of my viewers are kind of new to Pokemon. If you want to,
So my knowledge is still I know a decent bit, but my knowledge is not completely 100% on it. So as far as I know, I know we're about to see a massive uptick in people who collect Pokemon cards in forms of cancer because people are just buying this stuff and using it with no, you need to protect yourself when you use this stuff that uses radiation. Like, this is just, imagine telling people 3 years ago that this would become a thing, first of all. Like, just absurd.
I'm surprised, but at the same time, I don't want to undermine the depths people will go to make a profit.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, it's,
But I am still shocked. Yes, I am shocked.
So to get back on track with it, as far as I know, and you can do it with everything too. It's not just loose packs. You can do it with booster boxes. I'm told you can do it with like collector's boxes, tins, everything. You're basically able to scan this stuff through a CT machine, and the way the hollow, I guess, reacts relative to the rest of the cardboard with the radiation, you're able to see, like, it'll literally show you the exact card that's in there. I have not seen a difference in prices in sealed, or like a difficulty to sell for the guys I know who sell yet. I think it's going to be something that just maybe becomes, I don't know. It's either going to become very mainstream, and I think that it's kind of inevitable that it's going to affect the market, or it's going to remain so niche that it's not going to really become much of a factor. Because you got to think too, right now, there's not a ton of people buying these machines, but I mean, it's a thing that people are starting to do. But you have to send your stuff to them, get it scanned for a fee, and then you get it back. I mean, you're at the mercy of hoping that they just send you back the same box or tin or whatever, because there's nothing stopping them from buying a duplicate, buying a bunch of them, scanning them, keeping the duds on standby, and then waiting until they get the good version of that item and sending you the dud. And like, oh, well, this is what was in it, nothing too good. But meanwhile, you had a Deoxys box that had a Rayquaza Gold Star in it.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
there's probably ways to navigate that and ensure that you get the stuff that you send in. But again, it's just another piece of risk involved with it, where it's like, I feel like whenever something new like this pops up, there's just always those like unthought of risk elements to it that you're like, oh, well, this sounded great on paper, but now this is starting to become an issue.
At the time, at the
Yes,
time it was nice, but yeah,
exactly.
I think you. Oh, sorry, keep going.
No. I was gonna say, I really wish I could make a more like, I really think this is gonna happen with it stance.
Oh no,
The jury's still out for me on it. It's still tough to say what's gonna happen with it. It really is, because I don't want to.
That's why I wanted to get your opinion on it, because I was kind of like, I think it's still early. Like, I think you're right. We don't know if it's niche. We don't know if it's going to be fully mainstream. There's a lot of things I think people worry about sometimes in the Pokemon hobby, and then they're unaware that they're watching like a YouTube live stream with like a channel with 3,000 subscribers. Like,
Yep.
you think like, okay, it might become known at like 1 or 2 conventions, but I mean, your average Joe collecting this stuff, like buying a booster box, I think maybe the one thing I would say about it is I could see it hurting the potential ceiling of some stuff. Like, the stuff could go up in price, but are people going, that added, like, well, what if, as you mentioned, what if something like that happened? Like, what if this is a dud? What if somebody sent it in, this got swapped? You never know. I'm not going to pay top dollar. I'm not going to pay the record-breaking price for this. But it's neither here nor there.
And then you almost have new tiers of packs that are going to end up potentially coming out of it too, where you have like light, unweighed, which that's probably not going to be a thing anymore at all. You can't, if it's unweighed, assume it's light. That's another tip for anyone getting into collecting sealed. If it says it's unweighed, it's light. If the listing says unweighed, assume light. Either buy light or buy heavy. Don't buy unweighed at some middle ground price point.
Glass is half empty.
Yes, exactly. And it's an unfortunate perspective. When it comes to this, yes, you have to have a pessimistic outlook on what other people have done with the thing before you get it in your hands. So, yeah, that's an important point. But you're going to have these new classifications of like light, unweighed, heavy, and then like heavy with XYZ hit in it. Like, okay, you buy a Dragon Frontiers pack and it weighs heavy. Who cares if it's heavy if you scan it and it's got a Milotic Delta Species hollow in it for the hit, versus a Mew or Charizard Gold Star or an EX. I mean, like, there's going to be tiers of heavy packs now if this C-Team becomes a very mainstream thing.
Hey,
it's like, I don't know.
Maybe we're gonna test the genuinity or whatever of
the genuineness,
of the sealed collectors. It's like, hey man, you said you just want it just to have it sealed, but this thing has like nothing in it. You still gonna pay the same price?
Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
It'll be so. I'm playing out this idea in my head of like, okay, I'm 47 years old and I still have my sealed stuff, and I've never CT scanned it, obviously, because I'm not going to buy a $10,000 CT scanner, or probably more than that. I don't know how much they cost, but they're not.
Oh, apparently you can get some cheap. I heard. Well, how much did you say it was?
I thought like 10 grand, but they could be.
Oh no, they're cheaper than that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think you can get the cheap. Wow. Okay, I heard the one I heard was $1,200, but I'm not fully sure on that. If you get just a really old CT scanner, I think Don't
That's
quote me on
probably even
that.
more radiation exposure, so that's great for everybody.
Uh,
That's the hilarious part to me in all this is like just the crossover of these things of like having to wear like a lead apron while you scan
I was
Pokemon
trying to
packs.
picture like somebody with like I don't know, like they look like a mad scientist with their big goggles and they got like a full like looking like a bulletproof vest, just like
Yes.
all right, scan that hollow.
It's just so goofy. It's so stupid. But I'm like playing out the scenario in my head of like, okay, I'm 46 and I still have my stuff, and I've got some of the last, collector's tins, like that collector's tin. I've got one of the last ones that remains unopened or whatever that's known, and it's like, is someone who would potentially buy that off me? Are they going to trust me that I never scanned it, or like, are they going to want it scanned before they buy it? I'm just like, it's like, how is it going to evolve 20, 30 years from now?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
No, I haven't even thought about that really.
It's not worth thinking about, honestly. I just was laying in bed
I'm
one
still
night.
thinking about the future of just cards in general. I'm still like, where is this gonna go? Now you throw sealed onto it. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, dude.
Well,
there are so many different routes and ways it could go. It's like it's not even worth thinking because you'll drive yourself crazy. But
a closing question I had was, we've talked about some mid-era. We've talked about something, to help new collectors or prospective sealed collectors get into this. What is your, I guess, final tips, closing words for somebody who wants to get in and their budget is like, let's say like $100, $200 for a booster. Like let's say they'll buy a booster box, 2 ETBs, and maybe their potential like ceiling spending is like $500 to $1,000, and they're going to start probably in modern, and they'll probably might get into some sun and moon blisters, whatever. And who knows, what goes on from if they end up getting into bigger stuff. What are your tips, or not tips, just kind of closing words to them?
Yeah, like how I would navigate it, maybe type thing.
Yeah, because most people are, no matter what they get into, I think most people are going to start out like if they listen to this and like, oh, I'm going to give it Sealed to Go. They're going to start into Sword and Shield and Scarlet Violet.
It probably is better to dip your toes in where it's cheaper just to get a feel. It's like, I wouldn't start with this stuff. But I think the biggest thing I would do, the number one tip I could give if you're trying to grow value would be identify the sets that have the biggest and most expensive chase cards. And while everything is still available for retail or even maybe less than retail, stock up on those sets. For example, right now, what's the set that has that Greninja secret illustration rare? I don't even know which one it is.
Shrouded Fable? Actually, no, it's not Shrouded Fable. It's the one right before, and I'm blanking.
It's not Twilight Masquerade, I don't think.
No, it's the one.
Regardless, whatever that one is. If you're going to do Scarlet and Violet, that would be a very good set to buy, I think. So identify which sets, and also like Greninja, for example, I think is a Pokemon, which that's why it's expensive right now. But it's a Pokemon that has a lot of staying power.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Greninja has won multiple Pokemon of the years.
Yeah. So identify, Greninja, Charizard, Umbreon, Pikachu, those kinds of Pokemon, just the really popular fan favorites. Identify those. If the set has a really, really expensive or rare chase card of a really iconic Pokemon, those are the ones I would load up on while all the sets are the same price. Because I imagine, and again, I'm might be wrong on this, but I'm really strongly assuming that you can get every Scarlet and Violet set right now for retail or possibly less.
So it is
load
Twilight
up
Masquerade, by the way.
Is it? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. So load up on Twilight Masquerade for as cheap as you can find it. Like seriously, and this is just if you're trying to go.
Hold on, Cole. This sounds like an investing approach. I'm talking about.
I have no Twilight Masquerade for what it's worth. I hope
okay, not. I'm saying like more like somebody wants to get into like display, but like they don't want to go crazy and like like kind of how did you like kind of show like to them, because like when you got in it was a bit cheaper than it was now, so they're like, well, how can I build up to where you're at so I can see Sealed from like your kind of perspective? I've only collected cards.
I got
okay. I like to invest a little too, but now I want to get into Sealed as like a collection type of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. So I was thinking more in terms of like if you're starting off trying to get like a portfolio together. So that's the case. Twilight Masquerade. Anyway, beyond that, again, I wouldn't touch Sword and Shield right now. I think it's very inflated. So I would. It's one of those things where it takes feel. You have to identify. You have to be in the hobby for a while to identify things, but each kind of era will have these ebbs and flows where I think it's going to be at a high point and then naturally ebb and flow. And I think Sword and Shield is not at a great spot to buy in at right now. But anyway, I like to kind of diversify. So I've got Rayquaza box. You've got tin. You've got, like a double blister, which has an acrylic. So it's like you got a diverse. I'm trying to show these all off at once. You got a diverse kind of array of sealed products, so it's a little more appealing to look at than just the same variation of thing, but with different sets in it over and over. That was kind of my thing that I wanted to do, have a little bit of everything. So like right now in Modern, they still do triple blisters. You could get some of those, grab some ETBs, and then there's some more off the wall stuff. Like I mentioned that pencil case thing they did. I'm sure there's other things like that out there right now where it's a little bit more quirky and maybe not the best thing if you're trying to like hold for a long term, but it displays cool because it's different. So I would say diversify in the kinds of sealed items you're buying and don't just like load up on, triple blisters that are on the rack thing. Like don't just buy a bunch of those of your favorite set.
Some quick hitters I got. Maybe I'll have my editor pop them up on the screen, but like Arceus figure, that figure display thing, that thing's not bad. The Chunky Pikachu Celebrations box, I have one of those. And then I can't think of the third one. But yeah, some of those figure ones are not bad. They're not bad.
They're a bit cumbersome to store. But if your goal is to display them, they're really cool for display. So it's like it really does go back to what your goal is. If your goal with sealed is to appreciate it and just treat it as an investment, I wouldn't touch those. Literally wouldn't touch them. But they could display so much better than just probably even an ETB or a booster box or triple blisters. They display super well. So it really does depend on what your goal is. I think if you're going for appreciation, buy the thing that's going to store the best. If you're going for display, who cares how chunky and cumbersome it is? It's going to look sweet sitting out. So
yeah, no, you made some great points. Well, thank you, Cole.
Yeah,
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. You definitely helped me out with because I think there's a lot of people we could get on here and talking about the state of Modern sealed. But we wanted to get into the mid-era. And, guys, if you were like, well, we didn't talk about vintage sealed. We didn't talk about hard gold, soul silver for some reason, you're crazy about that type of sealed. That's for you guys. So you can go out there, research. We gave you guys a little bit of a taste. Cole showed you guys some stuff that you guys aren't going to see every day. You're not going to see probably, just going to your Target or whatever. So, Cole, thanks again. Thanks for having, or no. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me on my own channel.
Take care, everyone. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks, man.